Welcome back to another episode of Views. I'm your humble host, Cleo Corinne. I'm so excited. This is our first episode of 2023.
Ooh.
So thank you for blessing us with your presence.
Yo, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm really excited to be here.
Of course. So this is Coog. I'm going to let you give yourself a quick intro. Don't tell us too much because that's my job today.
Got you.
But introduce yourself, Coog.
I'm Coog. I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. I'm 27 years old. I run the Daily Note, which is a hip-hop website. I host shows, curate events.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all types of cool shit.
Perfect.
All types of cool
ask you
shit.
a bunch of questions today,
For sure.
So buckle up.
Right, ready.
Perfect. Just to start, how are you feeling? How's your week going? How's your new year?
Week's been good. It's been a pretty good new year. It's been relatively productive.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to the east side of Georgia recently, so I'm really excited about that. Those are like kind of my stomping grounds.
Yep.
Like I went to high school in that area.
Perfect.
So to be back in that area is like really weird full circle shit. And to be with like my homies is really dope too. Like my homies from back home is amazing.
Nice.
And I love it out here. It's been a really good new year so far.
It is dope.
How about you?
I'm having a crazy week.
Okay.
I told Tay and Sean earlier, I wrecked my car.
Damn, you okay?
I'm alive. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay, thank you. I'm just happy to be here, for real.
Nah, facts.
And I was looking forward to this, so I didn't want to tell them because I didn't want them to feel like we needed to like postpone or anything like that. So I was really excited about this interview, so I wanted to, show must go on.
Still, sorry to hear that for sure.
Not
of course.
But other than that, I'm doing good. Productive kind of start to the year. I'm trying to do a lot this year. I got my real estate license last year.
What?
So,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm trying to make that happen, figure out how to basically start a business from the ground up. So that's really exciting. And then we're trying to get back on the train with these interviews and just being more consistent. That was kind of something we talked about when we met up before, was just, staying on a schedule and creating content, because it's so easy to not do it and get lost, and you focus on your main job and like all that stuff. So being creative is hard for sure.
No, it definitely is.
But it's all about the momentum. So
absolutely.
So make a great year though. But I do want to talk about, you have so many things going on.
You think so?
Yes, you do a lot, and I admire it for sure.
I appreciate that. I'm fake busy. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to I promise you, it's fake busy. It's not that crazy.
So like you said, you're a curator, you're a host, you're a blogger, podcaster sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Podcaster sometimes. Whenever I'm feeling it, it's really difficult to podcast like all the fucking time. Like to the people who do it like week after week after week, yo, like
shout out to them.
Shout out to them. That's like I can't believe people have that much to talk about.
Yeah.
I feel like I do, but it's just hard to just get up and do it and put it out and be consistent. So the people who podcast like week after week, y'all are fucking incredible.
That's the thing I think I question myself about too, is like, how do I come up with new things to talk about? But I think so much of it is who you're talking to.
Definitely agree.
Sometimes when I'm trying to plan for these interviews, I'm like, I just don't want to talk about something that I talked about already. But then just kind of the unpredictable things that come up is kind of inevitable for the topics to be different and the conversation to be kind of unique each time. So
no, I definitely agree.
I appreciate that too. And then you also are a creative director, and you said future A&R.
Yeah, hopefully that's the goal. I would love to A&R. I've A&R'd some projects. I've been like behind a bunch of really fun projects like with artists that I fuck with, like Kyle and like the East Chin Camp, which is kind of how I know Sean, ironically. And like I've done projects with like homies, but I really want to be an A&R for like a label. That's like the goal.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that later.
Oh, for sure.
We'll come back to it. Yeah.
No, for sure.
So I kind of like doing things like chronologically. So I want to go back.
Okay.
And kind of follow the journey of like how you became Coog and like who is Christian. And I know that's weird that I know your real name, but I watched a lot of interviews.
No, it's cool.
Who was Christian growing up? What were your interests? What were your hobbies? And like, how did they lead you to where you are now?
Who's Christian? Wow, that's a good one. I grew up like a pretty regular kid, like super into video games. I was always well spoken, I'd say. Like I've always relatively loud, always like the class clown, like joking everybody. I was always into hip hop, like always into music. Not necessarily like interested in making my own music. I did have like a 2-week rap phase, but I was for sure. But I was just always into hip hop. That was my shit from a very young age. Like I remember being in my brother's room with my older brother Stefan and his best friend Sean, who's like family, and like listening to Ready or Not like for the first time and just making him bring it back like 10 times and like learning his verse. And from then on, it was just like I just love hip hop. Like I love this genre. So that's kind of where it's begun. At like fast forward to high school, Like I said, I was super into hip hop, but I feel like for me, it starts like the journey starts in high school. I'm a freshman at MLK, and at this point, a lot of my friends are rapping. I had just started rapping for like 2 weeks, but I realized I wasn't good at it. However, I realized that I kind of had a platform. Like when I would post stuff or like post things on Facebook, people would like engage, and I was like, this is something I feel like I could do. So eventually, I kind of discovered Tumblr, which is I feel like almost everyone our age kind of got their start creatively, like just through Tumblr. So I kind of made this. I started just like a music page called the Daily Note, and in the beginning, it was just posting like my friends' music, like my homies like Nino, my homies like YTZ at the time, but Micah Aristotle now, my homies like Lunchbag, people like just the guys that I knew. Because at this point, it was just you were either A, posting your music on Facebook, B, you had to have money behind you to get on a blog like a Hot New Hip Hop, like an Ill Roots. And now, is Ill Roots even a thing at this time? Well, just Hot New Hip Hop. I remember that being like my main source of music. And if you weren't on those websites or you weren't heavy on YouTube, like there was no, in my opinion, there was no up and coming blogs at that time that I was aware of. So I kind of used the Daily Note for that, just an outlet to just talk my shit about what I like.
And you said you're from Providence originally.
Yeah.
You moved to Atlanta around the time you started high school.
Yeah, I moved October of 2009.
Okay,
yeah.
Right, gotcha. And then have you been in Atlanta since then, or did you move back to Providence at any time?
I moved back to Providence, ironically, October my senior year.
Okay.
So literally like 3 years later, I went back to Rhode Island. I lived with my uncle and aunt. I finished at this high school called the Met, which is like a really creative high school for like the people from Providence. Or there's Mets all around the world, I believe, but for the people who are from Providence, the Met's kind of known as like where like the weirdos go, where like the creative kids go, like the kids who are just like just themselves, I would say.
I feel like Pebblebrook is kind of like a school like that here because they're so big on their performing arts school.
Okay,
so
bet.
If you went to Pebblebrook, you were probably doing something like in the arts or like creatively.
No, for sure. A lot of creative people like that I know from Rhode Island not all, but a lot come from that Met pipeline, in my opinion.
So what was kind of like your first did you have expectations of Atlanta the first or second time you came back? And kind of what was the difference and what drew you to Atlanta?
Definitely a difference. Now, my first time out here, I didn't want to come out here. I was a freshman in high school. I was like, cause I liked where I was. I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. I loved being from there. I just started high school. I think I've been in high school for like 2 months. I had my circle of homies. Like this was probably like the most comfortable I ever felt in school ever at this point. Because middle school I used to get in trouble all the time. I used to talk mad shit. Middle school, middle school was awful. But high school, I feel like I was, starting to like kind of like jiggy and like I was kind of overcoming my ugly phase. Like high school was fun for me, like especially freshman year. So to randomly come home, my mom would be like, "Yo, we're moving." Like no explanation. In 2 weeks, I'm like, "Damn." Yeah,
that's crazy.
So coming to Georgia, I was like super upset the first few months because I just didn't want to be there. I didn't want to make new friends. I didn't want to start a new school. Blah blah blah. Fast forward, I ended up loving it. I ended up meeting a lot of really different people. It was a big culture shock for me.
For sure.
Learned a lot of different music. I grew so much love for like Southern music. Like I don't think I end up starting the Daily Note without this move to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Personally, so there was no expectations my first time around because I was just in high school. Just my only objective was to go to school, get decent grades, stay out the way. But second time coming around as an adult, like the expectations are different. Yeah. Because now I'm thinking careers. I'm thinking like how I can take what I'm doing to the next level, and I think Atlanta is like one of the perfect places for that, if not the perfect place.
Definitely. If you could bring one thing from Providence to Atlanta, either tangible or intangible, what would it be? Or both, if you have one of each.
The weed, for sure. The weed down here is awful.
Okay.
Weed down here is fucking awful.
So Providence has good weed?
Providence has fucking phenomenal weed.
I've never heard that before.
Providence has phenomenal weed.
What do you think the difference is?
I don't know what the fuck's going on out here. I mean, y'all, it's not legal, so like, having weed out here is a luxury within its own.
Yeah.
I think like from what I've learned, like just kind of the way like how hot it is and how like the sun is, y'all can't really grow up here either. Right. Rhode Island's like we're right next to New York. California is like you can get a ship from there as well. We're like kind of near a lot of really big places, so it's just a lot more accessible for us. It's not Georgia's fault. Right. You guys have everything else on lock. Y'all got food, y'all have culture, you got the music shit on lock, y'all have like beautiful people, got a lot of niggas here, but like the weed's not the greatest.
Fair.
Something else to bring back from Providence, just the convenience of how close everything is. And I was gonna say food, but nah, y'all got great food down here. Yeah, weed and just the convenience of how close things are. Besides that, Atlanta's perfect.
Atlanta is great.
Yeah, it barely snow here, so I'm cool with it.
I love that.
I'm cool with it.
I don't like the cold. I hate to be cold.
Nah.
And we don't have a beach. That makes me kind of mad too. Like if Atlanta was closer to the water, I know it would be a different like city. I feel like, but if it was closer to some water, so like pretty water, that would make me happy.
I'm not a big beach person. I don't like sand. Like there's hella beaches near me. I like pools. Like I've noticed, like a lot of people out here have pools. I fuck with that.
Yeah.
That's the movement right there.
Yeah.
To me, like as a kid growing up, having a pool is like wealth.
Yeah.
Like when I have a pool at my crib, when I own a crib, like to me.